Hello, my name is Andrew Gillane, and I will be reading from the script that I wrote that focuses on self-instruction for students with autism. And I have Kayla here with me playing the role of Miss Hampton, where she is inquiring about how to help a student with autism and what skills they need to teach these students.
Can I come in?
Of course, what brings you in today?
It's one of my students, Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've noticed that Melissa has a hard time staying on task, and when I ask her if she needs any help sorting her work, she won't talk to me or look at me. I called her mother, and her mother says that Melissa has autism, so she has a hard time communicating what she needs. I feel so sorry for her. I don't want to intimidate her. I just want to help her as much as I can.
Now, don't beat yourself up, and you have no need to feel sorry. Just understand that you're going to need to work with Melissa in ways that you may not be accustomed to. Each year I've been teaching, I've had at least one student with autism or an intellectual disability in my class. I've encountered exactly what you've described. I may have a solution for you. One teaching strategy I like to use with students with intellectual disabilities is self-instruction.
Oh, okay. Does that mean you teach them how to guide themselves through a lesson?
Exactly. But there's a little more to it than just that. Teaching these students how to implement self-instruction to their daily lives allows them to have various resources that will help them become more independent. This is important because autism affects a student's social skills. They will most likely lack skills that will allow them to ask for help in troubling situations. So by focusing on how they can learn to guide themselves, it will help them overall in their growth as a student. So even though you are teaching a student how to work through a lesson, you're also providing them skills that help them throughout life.
That's amazing.
To teach a student self-instruction, it is primarily done by giving them a task where they are guided at first, but as time goes on, they're given less instruction. Here, let me show you an example of a video where a teacher gives in-depth detail in how to do a lesson. This may not be directed towards students with intellectual disabilities, but it's a great way to model what you do need to do. Oh, let me redo that. There we go.
Okay, so today I'm going to share with you how I write, because sometimes I have trouble writing, and I'm going to show you how I use my tricks. So I have this picture here, and now I have to think, what am I going to write a story about? What do I do first? This is hard. I know, I'll use POW. So first I have to, with P, pick my idea. I'm going to pick an idea. Okay, so he's looking at a magnifying glass. It's kind of a silly picture. I really don't like it. Okay, to keep my mind free, I can think of a good idea. I think my idea is going to be he's going on a big adventure. He's searching for a treasure. That's what my idea is going to be. So I'm doing POW, okay? So I picked my idea. He's going on a treasure hunt. All right, so that's done. Okay, so next I have to organize my notes. Writing is so tough. All right, what do I do to organize my notes? That's right, I learned a trick. www, what equals to, how equals to. Okay, so I have this. This is my graphic organizer, and this will help me remember my parts. So www, who? I don't know that one. I can skip that one. When? Well, he looks kind of modern, but he has a canteen, magnifying glass. I'm going to say like 1903. When? Okay. Where? Where would somebody go on a treasure hunt? I have no idea. Who does treasure hunts anymore? Okay. Keep my mind free. I can do this. Where? Ooh, the desert in Africa. That'll be good. I like that idea. Desert, Africa. Okay.
All right. So what you saw there is a teacher who went through all the process of thinking through a lesson. She thought of mistakes, she thought of places where they're confused, and so that models for a student what they need to do to guide themselves through a lesson. Um, this is because they will have practiced what they need to do and will be able to use those skills to complete lessons by themselves. Some strategies that involve this way of teaching are giving the student, you can also give a student technology so they can be accustomed to the lesson in that way, um, which can then give the student ways to learn at their own pace. Another method is teaching them regulation skills where they can monitor their own progress to see if they have been on task. So there's many ways you can go about this.
Yeah, all of this. I want to ask, are there any downsides to this strategy?
Mhm. I feel that self-instructional strategies assume that a student wants to do everything on their own. There are people out there that do not really want that, that they may need a bit more guidance. These people will most likely ignore self-instructional strategies or find them unnecessary. Self-instructional strategies also seem to work for around half the people who practice them, where around 56% of people show any growth from self-instructional strategies.
Okay, so I should gauge if Melissa is reacting well to this strategy.
My words exactly. As I have said, this approach to teaching students with intellectual disabilities is helpful, and I have seen improvements in my own students. However, I have seen the opposite, which meant I needed to switch up what I was doing and start from square one.
Oh, I see. I'll definitely keep that in mind, but I still want to try it with Melissa. I feel like if she can benefit well from learning how to work, I feel like she can benefit well from learning to work on her own. I still want to give her the skills so she can talk to me or others if she has questions, but can perform a task by herself. So how will I know if teaching her self-instruction is working?
I feel like that's can be put in place to determine if a student can successfully work on their own. For example, if a student is given a worksheet with a list of tasks to do, will they A, be able to read through it no matter how many times it'll take, B, perform the required tasks, C, find ways to solve any problems that they may face. I believe that these three criteria are ways to determine where a student is in their process with self-instructional strategies. It is almost like using a monitoring chart. You can label where a student is at in their growth and write down what steps are needed to get what steps are needed to get them to advance through the process.
Thank you so much for your help. When I go home tonight, I will look into this strategy myself to see what else I can do for Melissa.
Mhm. I'm very glad to help. Come back anytime whenever you have questions. Oh yeah, and before you go, let me print off a list of resources that I found useful for self-instruction. Let me just share that real quick.
Oh, thanks.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd love these to be printed.
All right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Goy.
All right. Thank you and have a good night.